You're listening to Me and Paranormal You with your host, Ryan Singer. It's more fun to believe. Third year bonus. Third year bonus time, baby. Welcome to the program. My name is Ryan Singer. Thank you for listening to a third year bonus of Me and Paranormal You, the Paranormal Mindcast, the podcast where if you have listened to this program before, you understand that nearly 9 years, 650 plus episodes, you just really never know what we're going to get into on the show. And we've got some great interviews lined up coming your way here very, very soon. My buddy Sarah is helping me kind of, let's just say, wrangle control of the Mindcast and for scheduling and booking and, setting up interviews and doing things like that. Something that is, well overdue and very much appreciated for me. So I'm very excited about that. We're going to be a much more efficient machine over here because of this. Excuse me, I'm over here drinking Diet Cokes like there's not poison in them. I want to thank anybody who has already watched The Supernatural. If you watch The Supernatural, thank you. It's on YouTube. It's my comedy special. It's the first one I put out in 20 years. Way too long. I should have had a special out 10 years ago. But it's out now. It's beautiful. Stephen Feinartz directed. Sohail Najafi did the lights. Blonde Medicine produced. Avail Comedy. Jessica Rachel produced. My team. It just looks so good. Jeff Tate was the opening comedian. He's fucking hilarious. Such a really good stand-up comedian. The audience was amazing. Poasttown Elementary School. The perfect spot. The place, it looks like magic. Just type in Ryan Singer on YouTube, and it'll be one of the first things that pops up, or Ryan Singer Comedy, or The Supernatural Comedy. It will show up. I'm very proud of it. I think it's very good, and I want you to watch it and share it with all your friends. It's on the Blonde Medicine YouTube page, but just search Ryan Singer Supernatural, and it'll show up. It'll be the first thing that pops up. Anyway, watch it on the big screen, baby. Watch it on the big screen. Anyway, The Bridge, first episode of The Bridge is out. The Paranormal Investigation series. I wish I had a more regimented schedule for release dates, but I do not. The second episode is coming very, very soon. It'll be this week, I'm pretty sure. So maybe even Friday, which will be about 2 weeks in between episodes. But the first episode is up. I'd love for you to watch it. I haven't done zero promotion for it at this point. The Paranormal Investigation series that we started at Poasttown, the same weekend I filmed the comedy special, it's up. Episode 1 is up. So it's on my YouTube. So check that out. I think it's turning out very, very good. So, and it's very compelling. And the investigation is ongoing, by the way. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to be doing some investigation. I'm going to be going back to Poasttown in a couple of weeks. And then I'm going to be also in Indiana with my buddy Matthew Jackson doing some things. I've got an invention that is in the works potentially that I'm trying to create that has been born out of this investigation. It's a device that will fundamentally tap into the kind of thing we're trying to go for in The Bridge. So I'm very excited about that. I'm a million different ideas, always trying to do new things. So, and also doing stand-up comedy, Wiley's Comedy Club in Dayton, Ohio, the 9th and 10th of December. And then I will be in Mason City, Illinois for New Year's Eve weekend. So, and then I'm back in Los Angeles sometime after that, weather permitting. Although Karen Rotowski gave me a tarot reading. We were doing a live show together and in Nauvoo, Illinois, a few weeks back, and she seems to think I'm going to be delayed getting back to the West Coast. I'm in the Midwest, the Midwest right now. So I don't know. Maybe it's weather. Maybe it's something else. I don't know what is going to delay me, but I'm not hell bent on making sure I get back there by January 3rd, just because, if that's what's in the cards for me, that's what's in the cards, is a delay. A lot's going on in the world of the paranormal. I had a very illuminating conversation with a friend of mine who has insight, experience, and opinions about some of the UFO reports that were, quote unquote, debunked, I guess, that came out. We're talking about the Tic Tac video and those other videos. And there seems to be very good cause and very credible alternatives, let's just say, for some of the videos to be explained away by artifacts, or how do I say, not UFOs. Okay. Now, not all of them, but yes, because I remember when this first video came out, a friend of mine said, you know what, I can already tell you what that is. That's what this is. This is like a blah, blah, blah. It's a part of the technology. This is a thing that happens sometimes because of the sun and clouds and reflection off the water, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, okay, well, we'll see. And then months and months later, they come out with the official report, and that's essentially exactly what they said to explain it away, was what they were talking about. So to me, that resonates. And I have to defer to people who have, I don't know, an understanding of these things in such cases, when I try to decide what I'm going to, what basket am I throwing my eggs into here. So that is not to say that they all have been. And, very, very compelling, very, very compelling footage. There's all kinds of compelling footage out there. And we know that UFOs and aliens, et cetera, are a part of our actual reality. Something that has come up recently for me, and I'll be discussing in the bridge, is it's the idea of, experiencing is believing. And it doesn't matter how many amazing videos are posted on the internet or shown on the news, how many incredible photographs are published in the newspaper of Bigfoot or UFOs or ghosts. There is always room for doubt, and there is always oxygen for skepticism. And that's not to say that is a bad thing. Experiencing is believing. Seeing is not believing when it comes to secondhand seeing, secondhand hearing, or even hearing in the moment sometimes. But I mean, that is experiencing it when you're hearing it yourself. Experiencing truly is believing. And even then, it can be dubious at times. Not knowing what we saw, not knowing what we heard, not knowing what we felt or experienced. And then you get into intuition, you get into psychic abilities, etc. And now you have to differentiate between thoughts and messages. That's one of the interesting things about my psychic friends. And everyone I'm talking to right now is a psychic friend who just hasn't tapped into it potentially yet. But those who are awakened to their powers, tuned in to their abilities, have begun to differentiate and have figured out how to identify the differences between thoughts, ideas, whimsical fancies, and actual messages or information that is being given to them from outside of themselves. Now, under the umbrella of consciousness connecting everything, there is no such thing as outside of ourself. But that's not, we don't need to get into that here. We're wow, that snuck up on me like a bug flew into my throat. I think I need some eggnog to soothe my throat after such a cough. I'll have to do that afterward. Maybe when we do the break here for ads, I'll get myself, a proper mug of nog. Because it is the season. As soon as Halloween hits, I am drinking eggnog. And it gets earlier and earlier every single year. And I make no apologies. I make no apologies for that. But there is something to be said for, well, how do I figure out how to differentiate between these things? What might be a message and what might just be a thought, or what might be my imagination creating something. And that's not for me to tell you how to do that, because, I'm not a psychic teacher. I mean, Samantha Fay and Deb Bone, check out their podcast, The Psychic Teachers. They're great for walking people along the path of this and coming into one's abilities for that. But I will say this, it practice makes perfect, and perfect practice makes perfect, maybe. You hear that a lot when you're in sports or athletics as a kid. Practice makes perfect, and perfect practice. It's just hard to... Practice makes perfect, and perfect practice makes perfect practice makes perfect. Okay, so we got it. We understand. Perfect and practice. It's interesting. It's a tongue twister because of the PR sounds are separated and then they're together. PR and pra. Right. Okay, we get it. Per and pra. Okay, we get it. Moving on. I could talk about that for an hour to myself, and I probably will. I'll probably walk around the house for an hour just going per, pra, trying to, just do linguistic, calisthenics, as they say. I don't know who would say that. Who's they? I have no idea. But it is something that comes up. What was I talking about? Well, the point is, I'm thinking about the experiencing is believing, and what is the point of paranormal investigation? And what's the point of putting out a paranormal investigation series, a documentary series? I'm self-releasing it. And, well, I think there's many layers to the reasons why I would do such a thing. One of them is because I love creating things, and I love creating things that people can find enjoyment or entertainment from, and maybe even potentially some insight. And that's what the podcast has been for all these years. I love making something. I'm a creator. I have to be crafting things, whether it's jokes, the podcast, the documentary series, the comedy special, the whatever it is, web series, TV ideas, scripts, characters, things like that. I have to be creating. I have to be exercising that part of my soul, or I feel stagnant, and I will wallow in what is, just a depressive state if I'm not doing something, right? And I mean, I'm not trying to speak for anyone else. I have struggled with depression, specifically the last maybe year and a half, 2 years. It's been a problem for me, wanting to go do things, wanting to be active, wanting to be out and about, feeling motivation, feeling joy and happiness. I have moments, I have ebbs and flows, ups and downs, and it is important to talk to people. And I luckily have a therapist that I talk to, and, other people, friends in my life, things like that. So people that are very close to me, who I can confide in, and just kind of like not keep it a secret. And I hope you have the same. And if you don't, I urge you to find, a professional, someone you can talk to and share your feelings with, no matter how dark they are, because you can't just live with them. And we want you to be okay. I want you to be okay, and I want to be okay. And I'm actually doing all right. I'm doing pretty good. It's I had some dark night of the soul shit, not too long ago, where I had COVID. I was driving across the country. My car broke down. I think I recorded a podcast about that. It was crazy. I was like, what have I done? Like, what do I got to do to not just get shit on right now? Like, it was because when I'm sick, and I'm getting over a cold now. I know I'm getting it over. I know I'm getting over it because I'm like not really a brat right now. And I mean, because I am a brat when I'm sick, when I don't feel well. I am such a brat. Anyway, so Oh, yeah. So what I was talking about, no one really knows. No one, no one ever really knows. But the point of making, that's what it was. So why am I making the documentary series? What's the point, right? What is the purpose? And does everything need to be so singularly focused and have such a clarity of mission, right? Or of purpose? I'm not so sure. Sometimes you can just make things because you just need to make something, right? Now, I'm not trying to make a documentary series of the paranormal that converts skeptics into believers. I'm not even necessarily trying to reinforce the belief of people who already believe. That's not what it's about for me. I enjoy shining the light on what it is to do investigations and beyond an investigation. And many of the people who do investigations are interesting, fascinating people, and I feel like it's fun to share a little bit of them, give you a little bit of glimpse of like POV Paranormal, the house team at Post Town, Tim Irie, Matthew Jackson, Karen, Eric Connor, Alex Mistretta, it's Jim Perry. It's fun to shine a light on these people that have luckily let me into their lives and become friends with me, and I value their friendship, and I also think it's really cool and interesting that they just will let me film them and be part of this series, whatever truly it is. But I think ultimately, at the end of the day, for me, the most important part of any paranormal series or content that I'm putting out there is to, at the very least, be interesting, right? And hopefully even engage the person watching it or listening to it to research or investigate something on their own. I think that's truly what it is for me. If something can spark an interest and make them want to go experience it, then the skeptic might believe it. Because at the end of the day, it's really fun to do this stuff. If you're lucky enough to do it. Not everybody has all the time in the world, like me, just out there floating around like like a mystical madman or whatever it is, right? Not everyone's not everyone's fortunate. I'm very aware of that. But, people can find time to like have 4 hours one night to go investigate someplace or something. And there's a chance they might experience something. And experiencing is believing. And the more people who believe, then the world is better, in my opinion. Because these things are less crazy, these things are less weird, these things are less strange. The more people who have experienced them, once you have like the tipping point, whatever the tipping point is going to be, I don't know what it is. I feel like we're 100% headed there. With certainty, I say that statement. We are 100% beyond the shadow of a doubt headed toward building up to a tipping point of belief where most of the world definitely believes in ghosts, cryptids, aliens, paranormal things, ESP, psi, etc. And you don't have to be a member of the American Parapsychology or the American, the ASPR or like the Theosophical Society or the Philosophical Research Center or, a part of a paranormal team that in your neighborhood that, goes out on investigations. You don't have to have a business card, I mean, those things are fun to do, to be part of teams and members of organizations that are, focused on certain things that also interest you, that your beliefs and your interests align with. Supporting like-minded individuals. That's what community is. And we are building toward a gigantic global community, which already exists, by the way, but we are getting closer and closer to the majority of the global community also understanding that this reality that we know to be true because of the things we've experienced is reality. It is the way things are. And some people are like, hey, you sound fucking crazy, man. It's like, okay, that's fine if you think I sound crazy. These disparate realities that we find ourselves living in, right? It's, who knows what the future holds. I can't fortune tell the future for you here on the show tonight. But what I can tell you is that 100% we are building towards this global community of belief in the paranormal. And that, my friends, is exciting. Let's take a quick break so I can get some nog for the throat. And we're back. Quick shout out to Waggles Premium Eggnog. This is not a commercial, but I picked this up at a Waggles, whatever it's called in Tennessee. I was driving through Tennessee and I saw an eggnog billboard and I was like, yep, target audience, and picked up a half gallon. And yeah, it's good. It's some good nog. Okay, so I love eggnog. God, you know that. If you listen to this show, you're like, yeah, you love eggnog probably more than you love most things in life. One might say it's problematic. For your health. Anyway, we were talking about what is the purpose of, paranormal programming and things like that, or at least from my point of view and something as a creator. I'm not interested in making these paranormal shows that are just a bunch of smash cuts and, boom and spooks and scares and commercial break. Who gives a shit about that? Because at the end of the day, I'm not trying to make a paranormal show that's a Monster Energy drink can. You know what I mean? What are we doing here? We got one life that we get to be aware of at a time for the most part, right? Every once in a while you can get glimpses into your past lives, et cetera, or your future. Sure, maybe. But you only get to be really aware of this one life right now, okay? What are we doing? And it's not very long. So what are we doing here? What are we doing with this life? And I'm like yelling at myself right now. It's like, what are you doing with your life? You know what I mean? Like, don't be wasting it by making like popcorn garbage bullshit, right? Is that what you want to do? Just so you can make money to buy a house that you'll die in and wonder like, oh, why did I never do nothing with nothing? No, what are you doing? What am I doing here? I don't have that drive. I don't have I need to be the most famous and the most rich, the most successful. I don't have that gear. And if that means I never become super rich and all that, I don't give a shit. I'm not trying to be super rich. Okay? I just need a house that has a nice basement for my studio and my laboratory and my paranormal library. Okay. I want my library to be in the office upstairs, above ground. Anyway, what are we doing here? What is the meaning of life? I believe the meaning of life is to give other people's lives meaning. I believe that's one of the meanings of life. I don't believe there's a singular meaning of life, meaning to life, right? The secret of life. One of the meanings of life is to help give other people's lives meaning. Because if we're all doing that, then everyone's life is more meaningful. You know what I mean? Okay. I couldn't pass up the opportunity to say, you know what I mean at the end, in Todd's voice. You know what I mean, man? Because what is the meaning of life? To truly live, we must confront death. And more than that, strike up a conversation with it. That's what the paranormal is about. Confronting death and having a conversation with it. That is exciting, right? To me. Now, when it comes to doing a paranormal investigation, these are the boundaries we were pushing. You feel alive when you feel like you've established that connection, that conversation with the other side, with death or after form. This energy that is there, or these entities that occupy this space simultaneously with us, with no linear concept of time necessarily coming into the equation. That is exhilarating. That is being alive when you are communing with the dead. Now, does this starting to sound like some kind of weird ritual, like you are alive when you commune with the dead? Yes, maybe. But I'll tell you what, go commune with the dead for a while and you will feel alive. I mean, nothing makes me feel, I shouldn't say nothing, but I feel so alive when I'm talking with the dad. It's a boundary that we've been told is we're not supposed to be able to go from one side to the other and back again. We're not supposed to be able to have those conversations. And yet we do. Now, is that part of the excitement? Because people say you're not supposed to talk to the dead. You're not supposed to talk to the dead. It's very sacrilegious. Well, is it? When you're praying to any god, you're praying to something that, especially ones that have especially the religions that have the living human form deities, you're talking to dead people, right? Jesus is the most famous ghost of all time, probably. Muhammad's a pretty damn famous ghost too. Those are the two most famous ghosts in the world, Jesus and Muhammad. So why you're talking to dead people, okay? Who am I arguing with over here? There's nobody over here arguing that point to me. Sorry. But it is a really exhilarating thing. And those of you who have done investigations and do investigations, you get it. And then when you start getting contact and you start getting a conversation, when a conversation unfolds, that's fucking bonkers because that doesn't happen a lot. And some people might be like, well, I have those conversations happen all the time. Well, you know what? Well done. You're truly tapped in or tuned in or whatever it is, because having a prolonged conversation it's a treat. It's a thrill because it's a treat. And it's special because you don't get it every single time you turn on a ghost box. You're not having a 15-minute conversation with somebody that makes sense, that moves forward, that is giving information that builds upon the information you already received. That's good stuff when that happens. I've had a few recent investigations where I've had some, exciting, thrilling, exhilarating moments. And one of them was at the Cambry House with Karen Rontowski, Becca Williamson, who runs the Cambry House. What a great place out in Illinois. If you're in that area or want to make a road trip for a weekend and go investigate a cool place, the Cambry Farmhouse it's a great spot. I do not think you will be disappointed by your time there. It is so creepy there at night, the outside, because you're just like in the middle. You're like in a gorge. You're not in a gorge, but like you're not in a holler. But it's just like you're driving down like a gravel road, and there's no cell phone service, and you're like surrounded by woods, and you're like, I am not getting out of here alive. This is awesome. To a certain degree, right? You get there, and obviously there's electricity and running water and a cell phone service and blah, blah, blah once you get to the location. But, there was moments during that investigation. There was moments during the investigation at the Kingsley Inn the next night, which really just kind of blew my socks off. I have to try to get some of that footage. I don't have any of it. I know Becca has some where we were just full on having a conversation at the very, very end of the night. It was at the last thing we did. And it was just like, what the fuck? Like, how is it? What? How is this popping off like this right now? This is crazy. It's just like one of those things, like if you play golf, you understand that like you suck all day long, right? Have maybe a couple good shots here and there, and then the very last hole, you hit these great shots, and you're like, oh, I could play another 18 holes, but we gotta go. We're done. It's a thing that keeps you coming back. It's a thing that hooks you every time. It gives you a taste, right? Gives you a taste, and if you're lucky, you'll get a bunch of really good tastes. Now, during the Bridge documentary series, that is, the first episode's out, like I said, my YouTube, official Ryan Singer, it's Ryan Singer Official, youtube.com/Ryan Singer Official is the YouTube channel. Anyway, it just YouTube and just put in Ryan Singer Comedian, and my channel comes up like the first thing. Anyway, we do get lots of action. And, the series is going to have, I think, four different days and nights of me at that location, if not 5. So, but I mean, there's interesting bookends too. I mean, because that's the thing about the investigation that I really love is going back and looking at stuff later and then being able to put the puzzle pieces together. And being able to put a paranormal puzzle together, it takes time and effort. And I think most of all, it takes patience, which I'm not always known for. Like when people say, what are the 3 favorite things about Ryan Singer? People aren't like, oh, he's patient. He's such a patient man. I mean, I don't think people think I'm impatient, but I'm not exactly known for being patient, right? He's patient and kind. Those would be nice things to hear about yourself. And we're doing variation of the CE5 stuff. It's not full-on, straight-up CE5 protocols. And I know some people I've talked to are like, oh, I don't know about that stuff because it's like I've had blah, 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 blah. And that's fine. I'm not trying to tell them that they have to do CE5 and it doesn't matter what technique you're using in the paranormal world. Somebody's had a bad experience with it, right? And that doesn't mean you're going to. I mean, before smoking DMT for a couple of years, I would hear people be like, oh, I know a guy who smoked DMT and blah, blah, blah. Now he thinks it's a light bulb. It's like, no, that didn't happen. Probably. That probably did not happen. It's like the satanic panic from back in the day. There's also that psychedelic panic. These made-up stories, these BS tales of like someone whose mind never came back from the other side because the psychedelic drug broke them and now they're insane. Like that's, chances are most of those stories are complete garbage. Okay? That's not to say that's never happened. I don't know if it has. And I'm not trying to diminish the tragic events that if that did happen to someone. I know a lot of people who have done psychedelics, and I know more than a few people who have done a lot of psychedelics. And none of them have been trapped on the other side of the psychedelic, if that makes sense. Walking around thinking I think we all heard that one when we were kids. If you're of a certain age, about LSD. This one guy did LSD, and now he just thinks he's a leaky faucet, and he just walks around a mental institution just going drip, drip, drip. And I remember hearing that and being a kid and being like, fuck, dude, I don't want to be a faucet. I better not do LSD. Right? That story, I'm 99.9% sure that story is total bullshit. Right? Anyway. But, so that is just to say that you can do whatever technique you want, right? I'm not here to tell anybody what techniques they should or should not be using. I like to use many techniques. I like to use a Ouija board. A lot of people don't like to use a Ouija board. I like to do a variation of the CE5 protocols, which is to initiate extraterrestrial contact with humans, as humans, with, for us to initiate that contact. I like to do that in haunted places. Done it a couple times, maybe 2-3 times now, and had very fascinating, interesting results. But if we can inspire other people to go have experiences on their own, they don't have to look the same and they don't have to sound the same. That's the only, that there's a limitation I find in digital and visual media, not digital, I should say visual, or even audio media, is setting expectations for how an experience should be, or how an experience should feel, or what it should be like. I don't love that. I don't love media setting those expectations. And oftentimes the media you do see it's so juiced up and it's so fabricated in a certain way to make it look real, that it's setting up very unhealthy expectations about what that experience should be like, which leads to a sense of disappointment in the moment for those who are expecting the same thing. Certain reality television that tries to present itself as being documentary, a documentary is the number one culprit in this, setting up false expectations. Because let's be honest, in the moment of something, whatever we're experiencing, whether it's exhilarating, frightening, sad, or joyous, we are experiencing those moments in the moment, and we are not typically, on these very extreme experiences, thinking about how we are reacting or experiencing it in the moment. And am I excited enough for how I thought I might be in this moment? Those are moments that are disappointing. When a moment is disappointing, that's when we are also outside of ourselves examining how we're reacting to the moment, when we're not fully in the moment, right? Because if you're not fully in the moment, then you're going to be examining how you're acting in the moment, right? This might be confusing, but I think you understand what I'm saying. If something is truly exciting and you're truly in the moment, you are not also observing yourself in that moment. There's other things, people are self-conscious about, like, oh, I shouldn't be jumping around screaming because I'm so excited. I don't want to elbow somebody, or I'm very conscious of my personal space and other people's space. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about making value judgments on whether or not you're excited enough for the moment as you thought you would be if you were to be in this situation or to experience such a thing. Or are you more excited? Are you less excited? Oh, I thought I'd be happier. Or I thought I'd be more scared, or blah, 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 blah. These are things that happen, often immediately after the experience, the moment has worn off. We can then examine, like, oh, wow, man, I can't believe that just happened. Oh shit, I thought I would have been more scared, but I got excited. Not like in the moment being like, oh, I thought I'd be more scared right now, but this is exciting. It's like, well, you're not fully in the moment then. And then that often is a sign of one who has been set up with false expectations because of something else, right? Being led to believe it should be a certain way, or that you perceive that something should be a certain way, or you should feel a certain way when this same thing happens to you, and it's been set up by the bullshit, by the false, by the fabricated, by the entertainment value of what these moments are supposed to be like. So when people are like, oh, this documentary, or, these paranormal, because if you go on paranormal investigations, it's not all whiz, bang, pop, boom. It's a lot of sitting around, and it's a lot of, quiet, and it's a lot of just conversations, a lot of stomach noises, and people laughing, having a good time with each other. And then it'll be, okay, we got to get back on track. Let's do this. Let's focus, right? Because oftentimes people are because they're friends and we're having a good time. And you have to like make an effort sometimes to be like, okay, let's focus. Let's do some actual investigating while we're here, right? It's not all just whiz, bam, pow, 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 boom, ah. It's not, these are false expectations that have been set up. And I think mostly people who haven't done paranormal investigations are the ones who will go in expecting such a thing, right? And because the people who do paranormal investigations, they understand the reality of these things usually are. On the flip side of this, I understand, like when you watch a movie, right? They're usually showing you the most exciting, poignant, the most important moments of these characters' lives over a predetermined period of time that the movie takes place. Some movies take place in like one day and one night. Some movies take place over years, right? They're not showing you every time the main character has to go take a piss or every time the character has to like, oh, I'm a little tired right now, I better take a nap. They're not showing, this is boring, right? Like you don't need to watch someone taking a nap to understand this movie, to understand the story. So when you're packaging entertainment, you leave all that shit out, right? And you're getting to the meat of the story and the poignant moments of the characters, the conversations that really matter. The transformation of the main character typically is the focal point of the whole thing, the hero's journey. All the other stuff is left out, right? So when packaging paranormal television, one could hardly blame the entertainment industry for cutting out all the other stuff, the boring stuff, right? And showing you only the good moments, the moments where action happened. Now, that's a paranormal television show. If I'm watching a paranormal documentary series, I want to see more realness. I don't want to see just whiz, bang, pop, boom, right? That's me. That's a personal preference. Like the difference between, I think we'll all agree, especially if you've seen both of these, there's a big difference between Ghost Adventures and Hellier. There's a big difference there. Okay? Now, you're allowed to like both of them. I'm not here to tell you you shouldn't. Because I've watched both of them. Okay? So there's no reason, you can't like one and not like the other. You're allowed to have varying tastes of what you enjoy in your paranormal content, right? But what I'm talking about here is the expectations, the false expectations of what a reality of a thing really is. Because at the end of the day, in the future, I truly, firmly believe all of this shit is going to be very boring in 50 years. And what do I mean by that? I mean it will be boring to the masses because it is such an accepted part of just reality that it doesn't have special attention. You're not considered crazy. You're not considered weird, eccentric, etc. if you describe an experience like this. Talking to a ghost who might be in your house is going to be the same as telling a story about talking to a friend who you met up with to have beer and wings to watch the Monday Night Football game. That's what I mean by boring. In 50 years, all this shit's going to be boring. That doesn't mean that there's not going to be very interesting and fascinating aspects of it, because there are. And there always will be. Just like in every other thing in life, there is and there always will be. But I do believe that. I do believe in 50 years, it's not going to be a big deal. The envelope will be pushed further inward and further outward, further layered dimensionally. Ghosts, Bigfoot, and aliens won't be the thing anymore. Other things will be the thing. You'll have a ghost, a Bigfoot, and an alien on your team with you, trying to investigate this other thing that everybody else, ghost, alien, Bigfoot, and humans included, think is bullshit. Now that's a fun show I need to make. I'm writing that down. I like this idea. I like this idea a lot. So it's a paranormal team. Okay, I just have to write that down. Ghost, Bigfoot, alien, and human. Yeah, all on the same team, investigating things that everybody else thinks is bullshit, including all their Bigfoot and alien and ghost counterparts. What would that be? What would they're investigating gender? Okay, so let's see here. Investigating. Got it. I had to make a note down because there's so many ideas that I've come up with during these 30-year bonuses that I've completely forgotten about that, who knows, could have been fun things to do. Yeah. So, I mean, that's where enough of that. I think you get it. So that's what I want the bridge to be. I want the bridge to be something that's more real, that doesn't, set up people's expectations for a false reality, but at the same time is also entertaining. And more than anything else, spikes someone's curiosity enough to make them think, you know what, maybe I should try to experience something on my own. And especially the skeptic, but I think mostly people who are not skeptics are the ones who are watching this kind of stuff. Let's be honest, right? So that's, for me, the important part of making something. I just want it to be, I don't want it to be, movie magic, what you're watching. I want you to understand, like, okay, these are the highlights, sure, but then there's also some moments where it's, it's not just action. It's, there's thoughtfulness to it, because there is thoughtfulness in investigations. Anyone I've investigated with a ton of different people over the country, all around the country, and over the years, and there are many commonalities that all these different investigators and researchers have with each other. And one of the big ones is thoughtfulness. Inquisitiveness also is a big one. Curiosity is a big one. And they like to have fun. That's a big one. And, I hope you like to have fun, because if you do, you should come see a live stand-up comedy show. I'm at Wiley's in Dayton, Ohio, December 9th, one show. December 10th, we have two shows. It's 8 o'clock, and then it's 8 o'clock and 10 o'clock, or 10:15, something like that. Wiley'sComedy.com has the ticket information. Get your tickets today. And then New Year's Eve, I'm in Mason City Limits at Mason City Limits Comedy Club. We've got an early show, and then there's an off-site show somewhere else in Illinois. I'm not sure on actual New Year's Eve night, but I'll be there the night before on Friday as well. So last time I was there on New Year's Eve, I think I brought some moonshine with me, and boy, I was in bed for about 16 hours. I will not be making that mistake again. Anyway, I hope to see you at a live show, and obviously I'll be doing live shows next year. I look forward to it, and I look forward to seeing you at a live show and us having some laughs. Check out The Supernatural, the comedy special. It's free. Watch it on YouTube. Give it a thumbs up. Share it. Let's share it. I want to get to 50,000 views by Thanksgiving. We're close. We're very close to 50K. So let's get to 50,000 by Thanksgiving. Tell a friend. Perfect holiday special. Filmed in a haunted school and looks really cool. I think you and your friends will like it if you haven't had a chance to watch it yet. Crystallize app is doing, we're chugging along, and we're gonna have some Black Friday and holiday specials. Crystallize, the Crystal Identification app, still going strong. So thank you for everyone who's downloaded that. Leave a review in the App Store for us. That'll help us out, and all that good stuff. So that's enough plugging for now. Thank you for listening to the Mindcast. We're coming up on 9 wonderful years. Are we going to be going into the 10th year soon? Oh, Dios mío. Anyway, wow, what a fun journey this has been. Can you believe where we are now from where we started? I certainly cannot, but I also can. So I love you. I hope you love yourself. That's the most important part. And if I don't see you at a live show, I'll see you at the watering hole on the astral plane.